Hi guys, well done to Marina Purkiss for dealing with two Brexiteers. One called Peter, who couldn't come up with any Brexit benefits, any tangible ones anyway, and of course Kwasi Kwarteng, another Brexiteer. And I have to ask the question, why is Kwasi Kwarteng, the failed chancellor under Liz Truss, constantly being put in front of a camera? Anyway, have a listen to this.
What do you love about Brexit the most?
It's a lot better without being in the madhouse, but common sense is a very important thing.
Yeah, but what are you enjoying most about your new Brexit freedoms?
Being free.
And to do what that you couldn't do before?
But it is
not be in Europe.
But Marina, it is ironic that today...
Why is it you people can never explain anything
Kwasi is a Brexiteer.
Yeah,
Kwasi is a Brexiteer.
So what Peter is referring to is, I think Europe is in a mess. Look at today, the French government, they're going to have their third or fourth prime minister.
Third or fourth prime minister. Kwasi Kwarteng is saying, look at France. They're having their third or fourth prime minister. His leader, his boss, Liz Truss, was prime minister after whom? After Boris Johnson. And who came after Liz Truss? Rishi Sunak. 3 prime ministers in the space of a few years. And he's pointing the finger at France and saying, look at France. It's a basket case. Look at all the prime ministers there have. Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't think he actually has the competence, the intelligence to actually take a step back and go, wait a minute, what about us? Maybe I should hold up a mirror next time I open my mouth. And second, why is it always when it comes to Brexit benefits, these people can't come up with a Brexit benefit? All they do is point the finger at Germany or point the finger at France. You notice that Kwasi Kwarteng and others will never mention Ireland, or they'll never mention Estonia, or they'll never mention Spain. They'll always go to countries whose economies are struggling at the moment for a number of reasons and say, look, we may have imposed economic sanctions upon ourselves, but that's okay because Germany. Or we may have made it more difficult for us to access the workers we need. That's okay because France. That's not... Brexit was supposed to deliver benefits. And all you come up with as Brexiteers is, hey, well, what about Germany? What about France? See, the problem with this argument is eventually the German economy will start growing again. Do you think Brexiteers are going to use Germany as an example when that happens? Because if the reason Brexit was a good idea is because Germany, well then if Germany's doing well, then does that mean that Brexit is a good idea still? None of this makes any sense because Brexit doesn't make any sense.
Is that a reason to leave, though?
No, but when people say, "Oh, Europe is this wonderful thing that we should have stayed in forever,"
saying that, but we're better in it than outside of it.
That's complete nonsense.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
And also,
we're having to plug the gaps now. Do you understand? Do you at least acknowledge? Because you were also spearheading Brexit. Do you not acknowledge the damage, the loss to the Treasury, the loss of tax receipts as a result of our leaving the EU?
What I do acknowledge is the fact that we managed to get a much better deal with Trump's America on the tariffs than the...
We're talking about buttons in comparison to the damage. That's like saying, yeah, look, we burnt down our own house, but the garage, the garden shed is okay. That's the comparison. We burnt down our own home. We haven't really nowhere to live now. But don't worry, the garden shed is okay, so we can all live in there. See, there's the benefit.
The EU did.
Do you think we've lost, as a nation, have we lost any wealth because of Brexit?
I don't think we've lost.
You can't have a conversation with someone if they're going to say that.
No, I don't think we have. I mean, you look at Europe.
I never know.
But look at Europe. Are they growing? Are they forging?
Okay, but why is Europe not growing? You can't say, well, we're not growing and Europe's not growing. That means Brexit is a benefit. Now, when he says Europe, he's obviously going by the Eurozone. But he's not going by individual countries. Because if one country is growing and another isn't, then you can't blame that on EU membership. Because if EU membership was a problem, then all countries in Europe would be struggling. But that's not the case. So you can't say, well, look at Europe. No, because that doesn't make any... But once again, when they say, look at how badly Europe is doing, how is that a Brexit benefit? Britain should be doing much better than other European countries. Britain should be booming because of Brexit. But then, of course, they'll say, well, the reason we're not booming is because we didn't get the right type of Brexit.
Ahead, of course they're not. Of course they're not.
I tell you what, there's all kinds of factors. We had to help bail out Greece when we were.
Yeah, we did. It cost £9 billion.
Oh my goodness! This guy is completely and utterly incompetent. We paid £9 billion to bail out Greece. Kwasi Kwarteng actually believes that. The bailout for Greece was from the Eurozone. It was based on the Eurozone. So countries in the Eurozone helped bail out Greece, not the UK. Why? Because the UK was not in the Eurozone. Does Kwasi Kwarteng understand that? Does he know that the euro was not the currency of use in Britain when it was a member of the European Union? Is he really that stupid? Like Jeremy Vine isn't... Let it go for Jeremy Vine because he doesn't understand. But Kwasi Kwarteng was the Chancellor of the frigging Exchequer. Does he not know that when the UK was a member, it did not bail out Eurozone countries because it wasn't a member of the Eurozone? Now, did it take an impact? Yes, of course, because all economies in Europe were taking an impact. But the UK did not bail out Greece because Greece was in the Eurozone and Britain was not in the Eurozone. This is really frustrating because I know these things and I'm not a frigging Chancellor. I know these things and I'm not a politician. I know these things and I'm not surrounded by expensive experts. How is it possible that I know this? I know that the UK was not a member of the Eurozone, and when it came to the bailout was for the Eurozone country of Greece. And how is it possible that Kwasi Kwarteng doesn't know this? I have to assume he doesn't know, otherwise he's lying.
Kwasi Kwarteng, our divorce agreement alone was 38 billion.
That was 12.
38.
Yes.
For no.
And now he's trying to argue it. Well, it wasn't that. The divorce bill, the bill that we actually have to pay, well, it's not really a bill, but yeah, the separation that the UK had to inflict upon itself as a result of leaving the European Union. There's no benefit there. Like, if the UK wants to still be part of certain projects like the Horizon and other, they have to pay in. But because they're not a member, they don't get the advantages of being a member. It's like if you have a membership with a club or a gym or something, you get better benefits than if you're just paying every time you go there. And the UK, now that it's no longer a member of the European Union, it has less favourable conditions than it was when it was a member.
A divorce.
Okay,
not even the
so
impact.
if we'd stayed in, we'd have been on the hook for all the other bailouts and all the...
Well, there haven't been any, though.
No, there will be. And also the other fact is...
There will be. So now I honestly think that he's stupid. I think that he's ignorant. This guy, remember, was a Chancellor, supposed to be an expert on economics. And he seems to think that if the UK was a member, it would have been on the hook for bailouts, even though it wasn't on the hook for a bailout. Oh my goodness. I have to keep asking this question. Why is Kwasi Kwarteng on TV? He's an embarrassment. Him and Liz Truss should have been kicked out of the Conservative Party. They should have been persona non grata. Both of them. But for some reason, like some sort of rash, they keep coming back. Like an itch. Why? Honestly, who makes the decision, okay, who do we want to have on TV? Let's get Kwasi Kwarteng on. He's an expert. An expert on what? I hope it's tiddlywinks or, I don't know, collecting cars or something. It can't be economics. He doesn't understand one side of a calculator from the other, it seems. Like, how is it possible that I know these things and I'm not an expert and he doesn't? It's a joke.
If we came back, we'd have to join the euro. Is that what you're up for?
No, if we shouldn't have had to do that. Why did we leave in the first place? Another one of your legacies.
If the UK didn't leave the European Union, obviously wouldn't have to join the euro. Now, when it comes to joining the euro, there's no guarantee. It's a requirement, but obviously the countries like Poland have joined the European Union, but they're not part of the euro. They haven't taken up the euro. So. But this is the scaremongering. Oh, well, but the scaremongering is coming from a guy who didn't who wanted to do unfunded tax cuts. And then we saw the consequences of that. People's mortgages going up because of Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng's mini budget. Have they come out and apologised? Of course not. They blame somebody else, like Tories, typical Tories. It's not my fault. It was somebody else's fault. It was the OBR. It was the Bank of England. And their sycophants will regurgitate this talking point as well. Nothing to do with Liz Truss, nothing to do with Kwasi Kwarteng. Then why did they resign? You know, their fans and they will say, we did nothing wrong. It wasn't our fault. It was the Bank of England. Then why did you resign? Why were you sacked if it was the case with Liz Truss? If you did nothing wrong, why didn't you stand your ground? Why didn't you double down? Why didn't you say, no, here is the reason why we're succeeding? No, you're a joke. And you should be nowhere near politics, and you should be nowhere near a TV screen. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.